Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Kimberly and here on this channel we talk about all things beauty, from skincare, makeup, perfume, and hair. If these things interest you, just keep on watching. So for today, we're going to do a 3 looks, 3 palettes video. This will be the first palette that I use for the video, and it's going to be the Terra Moons Aurora Chasing in collaboration with Ellie Starr. This is a beautiful eye and face palette, and as you can see, she has been very well loved. The colors in here are absolutely stunning. We have beautiful greens and purple shades, and they are just so pigmented. And today I'm getting ready to go out with my mother to a sorority function. It's our Founders Day celebration, and our colors of my sorority are pink and green. So I figured this is a great palette to use to do a green eyeshadow look for this event. So I figured, since I was getting ready anyway, why not have y'all join me? So we're going to start with the first shade here. Most of the shade names on this palette are on the back. So Corona is this beautiful murky green shade here. So I'm going to start with that one. And we're just going to put that on this Sonia G brush and put this all in the crease. And I'm just using windshield wiper motions to put this in. And the shade is going on beautifully. I just love the pigmentation. Terra Moons, when I first started using their products, was primarily a singles brand. So they were known, in my opinion, mostly for their multi-chrome shadows, which were very dimensional and shiny and shifty. Absolutely stunning. I have so many of those singles in my collection that is not even funny. So I think about a couple years ago, they started making palettes. The first one was the El Barrio palette. I have that one. And then they started making other ones more recently. I think they changed manufacturers, though I might be mistaken. And they used the Opolis palette that came out earlier last year. And then this one, which came out in early December, is one of the first collaboration palettes that I recall them doing. But don't quote me on that. Ellie Starr is a wonderfully creative MUA here on YouTube, I believe, and I know she's on Instagram. If you haven't seen her, please start checking her out because she's absolutely fabulous. She's wonderful at blending shadows and creating very multidimensional and colorful makeup looks. So I'm liking how that's looking. And you can see how easy these are to blend. And they feel so smooth and they're going on so well. Okay, so that's the first shade. Next shade I'm going to use is kind of lighten up just above that green shade. And this is the shade Polaris. And this is beautiful, vibrant, kind of bluey teal shade, which I think will be absolutely stunning over this green, and kind of lighten this up. And look how it's adding some contrast there. I love that so much. And the one thing about lighter shades on my skin tone, especially since I didn't use a lighter base, there's always a concern that they won't show up. However, this one shows up so well. It's absolutely stunning. You can see how it's very pigmented, even though it's obviously a lighter shade, and it's blending so well. Now I'm going to go back in with that first shade. I'm not adding any additional product. I'm just kind of doing some swirly motions and sweeping motions so that I can merge the two colors together so that they look seamless. It's never a problem to always go back in, and you can go back and forth between shadows all the time. So I'm picking up that brush that I used the second shade on, and I'm just going back over just where those two shades kind of connect, a little bit under the brow. And again, using kind of swirly motions to try to merge the two shades together. I don't want any harsh lines. I want this to look like that the green shade is kind of blending into that lighter matte. Like that. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so now I'm going to do the other side using the same shade again. And this is a Sonia G brush as well. Sonia G makes some of my favorite natural hair brushes. They're sold exclusively on Beautylish if you're interested. They are pricey, but I will say they're well worth it. They feel so soft, and they blend eyeshadows like an absolute dream. Though they cost a lot, they are very durable as well. I have washed them multiple times and haven't had any loss of the brushes, the bristles, or anything of that nature, which is fantastic. Because again, if you spend money on something, you do want it to last. So again, putting some of that lighter shade just above that green, like I said. And then I'm going to go back into that murky green shade just to try to make sure that I don't lose it. So I put a little bit more on my brush, same brush I used the first time. And again, swirly motions and blending, also using some windshield wiper motions just to make sure I can add back that pigmentation. Okay. And of course, you just keep working it until you get the blend that you want. It's never too much blending, in my opinion. Well, of course, if you blend away the shadow, but these shadows aren't having that problem. They're very pigmented and staying very well. Again, going back in to try to blend in some of that top shade there. And I just wanted to be kind of a lighter hue underneath the brow. Just kind of highlight the brow bone, and I love how that's looking. Now that I have that where I want it, I want to darken out the outer V. So I'm going to use the shade Midnight Canvas, which is this beautiful, murky, pigmented, dark hunter green looking shade. And we're just going to put that on the outer V here. And look at that. Oh, it's so pretty. I love the pigmentation. Terra Moons did a fabulous job with the formulation of these shadows. Combination of them and Ellie Starr to me is wonderful. I have, like I said, their other three palettes, and I'll honestly tell you, this is my favorite out of the three. The Opulus is really good as well, but this one to me is even better. So as they keep making new and new products, I think it's getting better and better. I think one difference is with the Terra Moon shadows in the past is that they, I believe, hand press their singles themselves. So these palettes were made in a factory. So I think they're really doing a great job of keeping the consistency of their handmade shadows in these palettes that are being made at a factory now. And this palette particularly, I think is absolutely stunning. So you see, I'm just using this, again, another Sonia G brush. I think this is the Crease 2 by Sonia G. And that's what I'm using here, just to put a little bit on the outer aspect of my eye here. And I'm kind of flowing this in just to the top. I personally like to have depth in my outer corner. So once I'm getting this laid down, and blend it in the way I want to, And then I'm just working to try to go windshield wiper motions again. Just trying to get this shade to blend into that first green shade that I put down in the crease. And then, like I mentioned to you, go back in, no more product on the brush. Just using that same brush that I put that green shade down with, just to go back and forth where the two meet. Just trying to get them to kind of mesh together. So there's hopefully no harsh lines. I don't want that. I want it look to appear as if the darker green is kind of just meshing or melting into the lighter green. And as I mentioned earlier, just go back and forth until you get the blend the way you want it. Okay, I feel like that's in a good spot. So now I'm going to work on the shimmers. So first I'm going to put on some of my Shine On Base. This is a collaboration between Klarity Cosmetics and Bad to the Brow. It's my favorite glitter glue that I use now. And I'm just putting this over the majority of the lid. And we're gonna let that dry down. So while that's cooking, we'll look at the shades. So as far as the shimmer shades that I'm going to use today, I think I'm going to use the shimmer Aurora Diffuse. This is this beautiful green multi-chrome. It's so shifty. I see colors of the dark green to a lighter green, maybe even a hint of gold. It's very, very smooth. And then on the inner corner, I think we're going to use Rays, which is this kind of chunky white. It looks like orange flecks in it. It's very textured. I think that's going to be a really pretty color. So I'm going to use these two shades. I'm going to start with the green on the outer part of my lid and kind of fade in this lighter color. And I personally like to use my fingers because I feel like that helps with the application of the shimmers, and they also seem to pop a little more when I use my fingers. I usually then go back over with a brush afterwards, but look at that. It's so pretty. And then on the inner, we're gonna put some of that lighter shade. I also see little flecks of orange in there, which I think are absolutely stunning. Okay, good. And that's the way the lid is looking. I'm liking that. And then we're gonna go back in a little bit more with the green. And then back a little bit more with the lighter orange shade. And I want to meld them together. So I am getting a little bit of fallout. So that's something to be thoughtful of when you're doing your makeup. Usually I do my face last. But since I'm going out somewhere, I wanted to do my base first and then do the eyeshadow and finish up with you guys. So now I'm going to go in and clean up. I'm taking this Klarity Cosmetics and Bad to the Brow brush to use that. I'm not sure the name on this brush. I can't see a number, but it was part of the collection that came out with the collaboration they had when they released the Shine On Base and an eyeshadow quad. So I'm just using this to kind of clean up that lighter shade. No additional product was added. I'm just using it to smooth it out. And then I flip the other side to kind of pull in and clean up the other shimmer on the outer aspect there. I'm going to take my Sonia G brush that had that green on it and just try to clean up a little bit. Again, so I don't have harsh lines between the shimmer and the mattes. And then I'll take the brush and on the outer V, again, no additional product, just try to put back that darker green matte, that hunter green matte, to kind of mesh into that shimmer shade. little bit like that. It's good. And then went back a little bit into the green shade though, because I want to make sure I don't lose that outer matte color, just to kind of deepen up the outer V a little bit over the shimmer. So I'm gonna do the other eye, clean up everything out, put on liner and lashes, and I'll come back with my final look. So I'm back with the finished look using the Aurora Chasing Palette by Ellie Starr and Terra. How I finished up was on the lower lash line. I used the shade Polaris here on the inner corner. Then next I went in with Corona, that kind of murky green shade just coming under the middle part of the lower lash. And at the end, we have Midnight Canvas, this dark hunter green shade just under here. For my mascara, I used the Thrive Cosmetics mascara, one of my favorites. For the upper lash line, I used the One Size Disney. This has been discontinued a long time ago, black liquid liner. For my highlight, I use the Nomad Cosmetics. This is the Sunset Cruise, and I use this one here, and it's a beautiful bronzy color, and you can see how it, to me, really fit this look, and I love how shimmery this is. This was gifted to me by the brand, so thank them so much for that. And I just absolutely love how this came out. It's just so pretty and shifty. So thank you all for coming today. And up next, look number 2. This is look number 2 in the 3 Palettes, 3 Looks series. Today, we're going to be using the Quiet Night palette. This is the newest release from Klarity Kosmetics. And as you can see, this is just a beautiful kind of grungy color story. We have greens and oranges and blues, and it is just such a pretty palette. So Klarity mentioned recently that they just reformulated with this palette. So I've been using their products for many years. I've enjoyed them, but I'm very interested to see what this new formula is. I believe they were formerly pressing their own shadows, and I think this palette was at a factory, so I'll be interested to see how this goes. And green is my favorite eyeshadow color, so of course when I saw this palette, I knew I just had to get it. So we're going to do, I know everyone's shocked, a green look. And you can tell by looking at my dress that I have on, which has a lot of greens and yellows and oranges. So I think this will be a perfect palette to use for this dress. So we're gonna start with a matte. So this first matte we're gonna use is this green matte right here. I think it's called Twilight Ridge. Twilight Ridge. So we're gonna put that in the crease. And I'm using this Yakuhodo brush. I got this a little while ago, and I absolutely love Yakuhodo brushes. I've been using them for many years. So we're gonna start by putting this here in the crease, and ooh, this is so smooth. I mean, look at that pigmentation. Oh, that is so pretty. And I'm just putting it on using windshield wiper motions. Just putting this all into the crease until I get it the way I want to, but wow, that pretty much blended itself. These are the smoothest that I recall Klarity Cosmetic shadows being. So let's just do the other eye. And again, we're just putting this green all through the crease. Just blending a little on the outside, but this is going on so easily. Wow, it's pretty. Okay, so next, now that I have that the way I want to, I think I'm gonna go into this chartreuse looking shade right here, and it's called Golden Steps. It's kind of a kind of goldy green looking color. It's really pretty. Let's see, there we go. And we're gonna use a Sonia G brush for this one. Not sure the name. And we'll just put this just over. Look at that. Look at that pigmentation. Oh, so good. we're putting it just over that darker green shade. Kind of a swampy green. And just look how easily this is going on. And I'm just using windshield wiper motions. Look at that. So just going back and forth till I get the blend the way I like it. All right. And these are going on so smoothly. I mean, this is not taking much effort at all to get this put on. And the pigmentation is very impressive. This is very impressive. So I'm just going back in, adding a little bit more color. Then I'm going back in with that Yakuhodo brush with that first color on it, just to try to make sure I can blend the two together. Because I want to make them look as if they are melting into each other. I don't want any harsh lines. No additional product, just using the same brush, kind of going back and forth, looking to make sure they're even. Now I think I'm going to put a little bit of the shade. I think on my underbrow. I think I'm going to put a little bit of the shade Hidden Cabin. This kind of lighter tan shade Hidden Cabin. I'm just going to put just a touch of that under my brow. Yes, I like that. I tend to like mattes underneath my brow. Since I obviously tend to wear these, believe it or not, to work, I want to try to make it a little, not too overstated, especially since I tend to, as you can tell, wear brighter colors. So I try to make everything look, seamless. And going a little bit back into that Golden Steps shade, like I said, that chartreuse shade. I'm trying to put that back there because I don't want to lose it. So a little of that chartreuse shade, put right back in there, and we'll put a little bit back over here. Just don't want to lose it. I used a base. I actually used the Lock-In Base by Dede Signature in the color Sand Seal. So it's a little bit lighter than my skin tone, but it's not a white. So the fact that these still show up as well as they do tells you something about the pigmentation, which has been absolutely stunning to look at. I am truly enjoying this. And these shadows are almost blending themselves. They are truly doing that. Sit there. Okay, again, going back, no extra product, just trying to blend a little bit there until I get it the way I like it. Okay, great. So now we're going to put a little bit of this orange shade. So this orange matte right here, the shade Mountain Haze. We're going to put this just under the crease and a little bit on the lid. I want it to be a base for some of the shimmers that I have coming next. And you can see how well that comes on. Look at that. Very pigmented. Look at that. Builds up nicely. And it's kind of meshing into that green shade. So I like that. Packing a little bit on here. There you go. And now just over here on the other side. And we're just kind of using it for a base. I'm going to cover it up with the shimmers, but I want this to kind of be the base underneath it, because I'm going to be using a green and orange and likely gold shimmer. And so I want this just to be a nice little something to kind of peek underneath. So we got that in. Okay. So I have that the way I like it. So now, time for the shimmers. So we're going to use our Shine On base. This is by Cliona and Bad to the Brow. It's my favorite glitter primer. So I use it all the time. And it just helps with longevity of my shimmers and helps also with creasing. As you can tell, I have some lines in my lids, as I am a little wise, as we'll put it. And so having these lines, it kind of helps with the creasing when I use a glitter primer. I have very dry skin, so my lids don't get oily, but I find that the longevity really helps when I put the glitter primer on my lids. So I like to use it. So now time for the shimmers. So we're going to use 3 of the shimmers. We're going to use Dark and Shore, which is this beautiful reflective orange shade. And then we're going to use this green shimmer right here. And this is called Soft Nightfall. And then this kind of grungy green / brown almost looking shimmer. And the name of this one is Wilderness. So first we're going to start with Dark and Shore. Look how pretty that is. Oh. And then Soft Nightfall. This one's a little bit more flaky. In fact, some of the flakes came out in the pan. So this is more textured. Dark and Shore. That orange is really smooth. But Soft Nightfall is more chunky and more flaky. And then Wilderness is very smooth. It's almost like this brownish, greenish shade. That's pretty. So, so we're going to start with Wilderness and just put this on the outer part of the lid. I mean, it's so smooth. I mean, this shimmer is actually more like a satin, I would say. It's more like a satin shade. And that's how it looks on the lid too. I'll pack a little bit more on here. Okay. And then we're going to take Dark and Shore, that orange, and we're going to put that right here in the center, kind of fading into Wilderness. Oh wow, look how pigmented this orange shade is. Look at that. That is beautiful. Oh, and it is going on so smoothly. Okay, and then we're going to put, like I said, Soft Nightfall, which is a little chunkier, and just stick that right there on the inner part of the lid. So you see the gradient I have there. And now I'm going to use this Nikki La Rose brush by BK Beauty to kind of help smooth out some of these shimmers. So a little bit of Soft Nightfall. And this one is chunky and there is some fallout there. And then we're going to put some of that, build back that orange right there in the center. And that's Dark and Shore. And then we're going to put some Wilderness, and I'm using the same brush, just cleaning it off in between to kind of sharpen that and add some of that pigment back. So we end up with all 3 shades there. Then in the outer V, we're going to use this dark brown shade called Whispering Lake in the outer V. And that's just to add a little depth there. Excellent. Excellent. So I'm going to finish up the other eye, put on some liner and lashes, and then I will come back and show you the final look. All right, so I'm back with the finished look. So I finished off by using some of the Twilight Ridge in the middle part of the lower lash line. And then I put some of the Whispering Lake, that dark brown shade, on the outer there. On the inner corner, I used a little bit of this Smoke Ember shade, which is this beautiful, reflective kind of white with little flecks in it. I think like gold flecks. It's so pretty. I put that on the inner corner. So for other details, I do have on the new Nomad Cosmetics Sunset Cruise highlight. And you can see just a beautiful gold green color. I figured it would be perfect with this look. And I absolutely love the way that it turned out. On my lips, I have the Kaleidos lip pencil. And this is the color Dark Espresso. And then for my lippy, I have nice orange lippy from Fenty. I think it came out last fall. And I use that on my lips today. For my lashes, I use the Artitude Cosmetics lashes. And they are the Russian volume lashes. I've had these for a while. Not sure of the name. Oh, they're in the style of Angel. So that's what I have on my eyes today. So this is my finished look with the Quiet Night palette by Klarity Kosmetics. I'm going to say I'm very impressed. These are some of the smoothest mattes that I have ever used from Klarity. The shimmers performed well. Obviously, the snow, the soft nightfall, that green one here, and then of course the smoked ember. They are more flaky, so if you don't like flaky shades, that will be it. The darkened shore, that orange, kind of a satin shade, and then the wilderness, that kind of grungy goldish rust brown color. Those are very, very smooth. But this is a very pretty palette. I can't wait to get in some of these other colors here, like this other shimmer Cool Moon, which is kind of a blue to purpley shift. It's more smooth. And then there is Weathered Voids, which is kind of like this gunmetal sparkly shade. That is really pretty. And then we have Calm Horizon, which is this blue purpley type of shade there. And then we have Night Breeze, which is more of a satin kind of color. So those are very pretty. Let's see what they look like swatched out. So I'll give you a little swatchy swatch. There we go. There we are. And that's all of them swatched out on my hand. So very pigmented. A little better on that purple one. Very pigmented. Look at that. Very pigmented. Look at the shifts in that. Oh, that is so pretty. So pretty. So these are very pigmented and smooth. I really, really like this palette. Klarity, you did a great job with this one. So I'm looking forward to playing with this some more and creating some more looks with it. But I really like the way this look number 2 came out. Like I said, I love the colors, the shifts. I think are absolutely beautiful. And I feel really pretty. I think it goes very well with my dress. So I'll let you know how this all wears out, but I really, really like this look. I feel really pretty. Just look at the orange and the green. Oh, and the sparkling in the corner. I love this. So great job, Klarity Cosmetics. So I hope you enjoy look number 2. And coming next to you is look number 3. Hi, I am back now with the third look in the 3 palettes, 3 looks video. And we're going to be using the re-released Nightshade palette from Gourmande Girls. So you can see on the new palette, we have the new kind of raised border. They kind of updated and spiced up the cover, which I really love what they did. Inside, the color story is the same. However, I know Christina said they updated a few of the multi-chromes and shimmers, kind of made their formula less flaky and a little bit more smooth. So I'm really excited to dive into this palette. I had the original one, which I loved. So I'm really excited to see how this one performs. So I think today we will do a purple and maybe a little bit of a green on the lower lash line. I'm excited to see what we can come up with. So I think I'm gonna start with Nightshade, for whom the palette is named. And then we will probably put a little bit of Belladonna in the upper part under the brow. And then Woody to kind of darken up the outer V. Maybe a touch of Black Knight as far as the shimmers we're going to play with. I think we're going to go with Dream Shade, and then maybe some empowering in the center, and then maybe some flowering on the inner corner. We'll see how that turns out. So I'm going to start with the Sonia G brush. And like I said, we're going to go into the shade Nightshade, that really pretty pigmented purple. And we're just going to put this in the crease. And this is going on very smoothly on my base. Pick a little bit more up here. And I just love the pigmentation. The formula is the good formula that I always associate with Gourmande Girls Cosmetics. It's very smooth and very pigmented, easily to put on here. Blending is a dream. And I'm just using some windshield wiper motions, swirling, trying to get that basically the way I want it. And now I'm going to take a brush from the Sigma and Angela Bright set, go into the shade Belladonna, which is that beautiful lavender shade, and just put it underneath the brow here. Wow. That is extremely pigmented. And the base I'm using is close to my skin tone, so it's not even a white base, but you can see how easily this shade is showing up. I'm just going back in with that other brush that had Nightshade on it, not adding any additional product, just trying to blend it in to that Belladonna shade. So the two are kind of flowing into each other. Then you can always go back to make sure you don't lose your shades. So back into that Belladonna, just a little bit more product, not a lot. Tapping it in, and then again going back and forth until I get the blend the way I like it. Again, no additional product on that Sonia G brush that we use for Nightshade. And now back into the Sigma and Angela Bright, no additional product this time. And you can see that blend. One more time. Okay, good. So I have that the way I like it for right now. So now we're going to go into the next shade. And for that, I'm going to use this Melt in Mariposa collection brush. This is really old. And we're going to go into the Woody shade, so that deep purple shade. And we're just going to put it here in the outer corner, and working it a little bit into the crease. Just want to add a little bit of depth to this look. And look at that pigmentation. Oh, that's so good. And it's blending like a dream. And it's just going on so smoothly. I'm not having any patchiness. It's not difficult to do. And then again, going back in with that Sonia G brush that I used for the Nightshade. And kind of blending the two together. Back into that Melt and Mariposa brush with the woody shade on it. Then I'm just going back and forth, windshield wiper motions until I get the blend the way I like it. Add a little bit more of that nightshade back, right there where the two meet. So now I'm going to use that yellow shade, Bittersweet, and I'm going to put it just here on the inner corner. And I'm going to use this Sephora 19 brush. And just put it right here. Just on the inner part of the lid. Just like so. Add back a little bit of that nightshade right here in the center part of the lid, kind of fading into that dark purple woody shade. Kind of like that. So, I'm liking the way that works. There we go. I'm liking the way that's looking. All right, so next we're gonna get our Shine On, and this is by Cliona and Bad to the Brow. It's my favorite glitter glue that I'm using right now. And we're just putting a little bit over the whole lid. I've already swatched out the shimmers I'm gonna use right here on my hand, and you can see how multi-dimensional they are, so shifty and pretty. I'm excited. So again, it's gonna be Enchanter, which is this beautiful white iridescent type shade. Obviously I see purple in it and blue. It's so pretty. Then we're going to use this Dream shade, which is this beautiful light purple sparkly smooth shade here. Then on the inner part of my lid, I want to use Flowering, which is this beautiful yellow with green flecks in it that I can see. So we're going to use that. So we're going to start with Dream shade and just put that on the outer part there. And then we'll put Enchanting right in the center. And then right over that yellow. I love that combo together. So what I'm gonna do is clean this up, finish the other eye, put on some liner and lashes, and I'll be right back to show you the final look. Okay, I'm back with the finished look. So what I did for the under lash line, I used a little bit of Belladonna in the inner corner and took it to a little bit of the lower lash line, put a little bit of Nightshade, and then used Henbone and darkened it out with Black Night, because I wanted the green to kind of match the color in my lippy, which is Chlorophyll from the Track collection. On my cheeks, I have the Blend Bunny and Jordan Liberty Masterclass. I actually mixed the colors, Fetish and Exhibition, to give that kind of purple look on my cheeks. For my highlighter, I use the Nomad Cosmetics, the new release. This is in Sunrise Cruise. It's this beautiful white with pink with purple, and I used mostly just the purple on my cheeks. Underneath, I forgot to mention that underneath the Jordan Liberty and Ben Bunny blush, I use this cream brush, Dream Cream. This is in the shade Punk Glam Era, which is this beautiful purple, rich plum purplish color. It's so pretty and pigmented. And this is from Give Me Glow, so I use that underneath the Jordan Liberty and Blend Bunny Fetish and Exhibition colors. And of course, like I said, the Nomad Cosmetics Sunrise Cruise, just the purple on the for my highlighter. For my foundation, it is the Prada. I bought it and hadn't used it in a while, so I wanted to pull it out. And this is the Prada Reveal Skin Optimizing Foundation. It has skincare and SPF 17 in it. And I use this. I got to use this up. It expires in a couple months. For my under eye powder, as usual, it's our Pat McGrath in the shade Deep. And for my concealers, our usual friends, 15, 12, and 9 from the Yummy Skin line from Dede Signature. Lashes are from Ardell. Mascara was the Thrive Mascara. Liner was an old liner from One Size in the Disney collection. Use that on my upper lash line. And that's the finished look. So I hope you enjoyed it with the new nightshade from Gourmande Girls Cosmetics. It's available now on the website. You can use code Kimberly to save 10%. It is affiliated, so if you do, thank you so much. Also, they have other palettes on there, including the Bleeding Hearts, and I believe there's a bundle for that. So if you decide to get the bundle, please use my link in bio. That really helps me out. So that's it for this 3 looks, 3 palettes. Thank you all for coming, and I hope to see you next time. So remember, live your best life. This is not a dress rehearsal. You are on stage, so make it the best performance ever. Bye, guys.